I feel like a lot of modern marketing nowadays typically comes in two flavors: oversaturation of themed products, or brands trying to relate to kids via social media.
You ate maximum aura points.
While both of these make me tired in two different ways, the outcome is essentially the same. I feel like the company sees me as a mindless drone that can't tell a skinwalker apart from their own, eager to throw what little money I have at anything vaguely related to my interests. And it feels very belittling to me. The girlies crave more enrichment. I personally find myself missing the obscure marketing tactics of the 2000s, specifically when brands or IPs used to have interactive flash elements on their website. Or better yet, when they made entire browser games to advertise their brand. The footage you're currently seeing on the screen is of the Barbie website back in 2008, of course accessed through the Wayback Machine, so some elements of the website are inaccessible. But just want to point out, look at how much character this has. All these different elements could have been more straightforward tabs on a modern website, but back in the day, everything was so on theme. For each tab you go on, or I guess room you enter, Barbie has a fresh new look and a new activity that she's doing. It makes her feel so much more alive, like she truly lives in this virtual space and has her own set of hobbies and interests that you can observe in what feels like real time. Her game room is filled with stuff that kids my age would have really wanted, like a lava lamp. Every kid from the 90s wanted a lava lamp for absolutely like no reason, or a fluffy beanbag chair. As great as this is though, I unfortunately never discovered the Barbie site myself as a kid, probably because I wasn't too into Barbie growing up, but a more basic example I can talk about from personal experience is the old Hamtaro website back in the day. For those of you who don't know, Hamtaro was an anime that aired in the USA back in 2001. It was a children's show that followed cute hamsters doing cute hamster things, and I was absolutely obsessed with this show as a kid. I had the Hamtaro Playhouse and a ton of these little dolls, figurines, whatever you want to call them, that my older sister so graciously bought for me off of eBay. The Hamtaro website was very simple. When you first got on the site, it would load this intro video player, and I always found loading screens for flash animations to be so charming. It usually featured a character doing something cute or funny, and I just feel like it would help me feel more attached to said character. Then it would play the intro, you know, just the English theme song along with some cute little animations of the character JPEGs jumping out at you. I know for younger folk this probably looks really janky, but I think it has a lot of charm. Whenever websites had a little intro like this, there was typically a skip intro button somewhere on the website if you did not have the patience to endure a 1-minute loading screen for a probably 20-second video. Couldn't be me though. I will sit patiently for my JPEG hamsters. And then going on to the main site, there was so much for you to explore. They had summaries of all the episodes, they had printouts for you to color, which again, were just black and white versions of the character JPEGs. They had an interactive roster of the characters that you could click on so you could learn more about them. And they would also say a voice line anytime you hovered over the character.
Get a move on! Get a move on!
And they even had a shipping chart, which was huge for me as a little shipping fiend when I was a kid. Like, I don't know if this works on everyone, but having a website where I can learn more about the characters and character relationships really just builds brand loyalty for me. I mean, hence why I was so obsessed and still obsessed with Hamtaro merch. Please see my Hamtaro/Godzilla collab collection that I got from Anime Expo. I spent a ridiculous amount of money on these and I do not regret it. I want to make a note too that apparently this website was a Viz Media website, and as you may know, Viz Media is a huge Japanese media brand that produced a lot of different anime and Japanese movies. So there's a drop-down menu up here that leads to other Viz Media websites, including websites for the anime Death Note and Monster. And I just think that that's incredibly funny to include on a website that's meant to be for like literally small children. I don't really know if you should be giving the audience for Hamtaro access to websites for shows about murder, but okay. Now, as I said, Hamtaro is meant for small children though. A more aged up example of this concept was the interactive browser game for the band Gorillaz. If you are unfamiliar, Gorillaz is a very popular animated band. There are obviously two real people behind the band that are responsible for creating the music, but the four fictional animated characters, Murdoch, Tootie, Noodle, and Russell, serve as the faces of the band. And they're often who you'll see in music videos, shorts, shows, and interviews. The Gorillaz website nowadays really just consists of music videos with some menu links that lead to their music and merch. Nothing that features the lore of the band or their old shorts, which is a little disappointing considering the band has a very long fictional history. But back in the 2000s, the website was drastically different. If you went to their website, it would take you to this point-and-click browser game where you could explore Kong Studios, which was the fictional location where the band members lived. This game was so cool, and I remember spending hours exploring it. I really loved how the art style was this eclectic mix of realistic JPEGs, GIFs, and 2D art. And there was surprisingly a ton you could do in this game. Like, there were collectibles you could find. There were these vials of glowing green sustenance that you could feed to Sean, the giant head that lived in Noodle's closet. And like any other point-and-click game, they were just like fun little Easter eggs you could find. And in one of the earlier versions of this universe too, you could play janky little flash minigames. This Gorillaz browser game really hammered down some brand loyalty for me as a kid. Because I could go and explore the Gorillaz members' home, I felt more inclined to listen to their music, even if the music they produced weren't always my favorite. The website also made changes to their online environment in order to better match the lore of the music videos, which I thought was such a cool addition. When the music video for El Mañana was released in 2006, in which Noodle's floating island gets shot down and she presumably, at the time, dies, the Kong Studios virtual world eventually changed to reflect this, featuring Noodle's room with a gaping hole in the wall. I remember later down the line, the studio would have some bloodied FedEx boxes somewhere in the lobby, which was a reference to when Noodle was first introduced to the band. She had arrived in a FedEx box when she first came to the studio, but now with the FedEx boxes all like bloody and stuff, it was like implied that it was her corpse that was in those boxes. And I remember fans clung on to this as evidence that Noodle was dead. Of course, though, she wasn't dead. She would debut in a music video again years later. Unfortunately, I can't find any screenshots of the bloodied FedEx boxes anywhere, but I swear it happened. Let me know if you remember that website and you know what I'm talking about, because I cannot find that many archives of this browser game for some reason. Because Flash is now defunct and the Gorillaz website has gone through a rebrand, these games are no longer fully accessible, but you can play the post-2008 version on zombiehiphop.xyz. I'll put a link in my description below so that way you can check it out for yourself. I'd highly recommend checking it out if you're bored and want to experience a cool internet time capsule. There aren't too many Kong Studios exploration videos out there that aren't blurry, so I think it is best to explore it for yourself if your computer can manage. Aside from the exploration games though, I remember browser horror point-and-click games were also a marketing technique used in the 2000s. The most iconic example I can think of was Hotel 626. So Hotel 626 was a flash browser game where you woke up in a very scary hotel and the goal was to escape. And in order for you to do so, the game presented you with several mini-games or challenges for you to complete. The game was successful at creating a pretty creepy atmosphere, and it had some cool features for a browser game of 2008. Some of these challenges involved a microphone so you could sing a cursed child to sleep. And another challenge involved the game sending an automated call to your phone to tell you where to go as you run through a hallway. And yes, while these gimmicks are not very impressive by today's standards, they were pretty revolutionary at the time. The reason why this game was called Hotel 626 was because you could only access the game from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m., adding to the extra spookiness and making this an excellent game to play with your friends at sleepovers. Now, if you recall, this is a video about marketing through browser games. So what exactly is this game advertising here? Well, if you look at all the door placards, you might notice that they are all eerily a triangle shape. And when you go down the stairwell, it's peculiarly in a triangle formation yet again. Can you guess what this game was advertised? It's Doritos. This was a fucking Doritos game. Doritos released Hotel 626 and eventually another horror browser game called Asylum 626. And apparently it was because they were bringing back two flavors from the dead. The flavors being black pepper jack and smokin' cheddar barbecue. Would I have ever guessed that this was a game for Doritos? Absolutely not. And almost everyone who played this game upon release did not know it was for Doritos until you completed the game and it flashbanged you with that Doritos logo. Absolutely wild. Now, I will say, this one was maybe not effective at getting me to eat more Doritos. I'm not really a Doritos gal to begin with, but this game does forever live rent-free in my mind. Because who would have guessed that this was a Doritos game? They did succeed at securing brand awareness with me, at the very least. I do want to give an honorable mention though to the web browser Grudge game that was also released around the same time. I think this game was released after the movie had been released, so maybe it was meant to boost DVD sales? That, or maybe I just discovered it after I had watched the movie. It's practically lost media at this point, but if I remember correctly, I think if anything this game was a pure point-and-click adventure with not really any real way to win, but just another fun, scary game to play with your friends at sleepovers. I just wanted to mention it because I feel like there are a lot of videos that highlight Hotel 626, but none that talk about this particular game, which is kind of a shame because it was spooky. But yeah, as you can see, all of these were pretty fun to a degree and offered more interaction between consumer and brand. And while I understand that nowadays we are trying to deprogram ourselves from the consumer mindset and become more aware of the marketing tactics that make us much more attached to these products, I will also admit that these were the times when capitalism actually felt kind of fun, when it felt like innovation and customer satisfaction was still a goal within the corporate landscape, rather than seeking to optimize return of investment. Yes, we were being advertised to, but at least it was done with some soul, you know?
Now watch this. I am sorry, but this is exciting. Look at this color.
Or who knows, maybe I just have the nostalgia lens on. Let me know in the comments what you think it is. But anyway guys, if you're familiar with these sites I mentioned, or have your own that you hold in special memory, let me know in the comments below. As I've mentioned before, especially in my net art video, the clunky web designs of the 2000s are so whimsically fun to me, and have so much more character in my opinion, as opposed to the clean, standardized, endless scroll format that most websites choose to do nowadays. Please do like the video if you liked it, comment to let me know that my opinions are valid or not, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
I read about that one time. I read about that.